Hey guys, it's Mishal and you are watching Q&A with Mishal episode number 5. Now in this episode things got a little bit crazy. We are talking about how can you be confident in your first job interview. We are talking about things like God and different religious belief. I'm also talking about why it is extremely important that your goal evolves with time. And lastly, I'm also talking about 3 habits that a person needs to instill in their daily routine. So let's not waste our time. Let's jump right into it. So Rahi, what is my question number 1?
For the first question, how can people be confident in their first job interview?
So yeah, first of all, you need to understand that one interview is not going to sort of change your life, right? So you need to get this right off the bat, right? Because what really happens, and this has actually happened with me as well, you put yourself under so much of pressure that you start to sweat in front of a job interviewer, right? And the moment you do it, you're going to start to fumble. You're not going to sound confident, and nobody really wants to work or hire someone who's not confident at all, right? You might have great grades in the schools and the college, but if you're going to sweat in front of an interview, what's going to happen is you are really jeopardizing your chances in the marketplace. Now, secondly, you need to understand the language, the language of the corporate world, right? It's English. You have to accept that fact. When I stepped out of my high school and when I stepped out of my college, I could barely speak a word of English, right? And I did not have a lot of confidence when I had to sort of communicate about myself or express my opinions in front of other people. And again, forget about in English, I had a problem communicating my opinions and express my views in front of more than 5 people. But again, at the same time, I had a great deal of difficulty expressing my views in English. So I really had to sort of teach myself, because I knew that if I really wanted to do something in my life, I'm gonna have to express my views and opinions and convince other people in the language that they can understand, right? If you, for example, if you go to any English speaking country, you're gonna have to learn their language. Otherwise, no one is going to give you a shot, right? Same in, for example, if you're about to step into the workforce, you need to understand and respect the fact that the English is the corporate language here, right? And one of the first skills that you need to have, you need to be able to express your opinions and views in the language that they can understand. The person who's sitting across the table and who's taking your job interview is maybe speaking into his own regional language in front of his wife and to his kids and when he's hanging out with his friend, but he's still going to be asking questions in English. So you have to accept that fact, right? So then what you do is you're going to have to start working on it. Like, for example, when I was in school and college, I realized that, okay, if I really want to do something in my life, I need to learn this language. And language is just a language, right? It's not going to determine how much money you are going to make. But if here we are talking about job interview. So now one of the greatest skills that you can have is to communicate in the language that these guys can understand. I accepted that fact, right? I knew that I didn't know English, so I started working on myself. Okay, I would basically get up really early in the morning. I started reading the books. I started basically communicating with other people in that language. I started using that language in my daily life, and then I also worked on my profile. Now, when you are sitting in front of a job interviewer, what you are basically doing is you're telling him a story. You are telling him a story about your interests. You're telling him a story about your weaknesses and how you overcome that weaknesses. For example, I remember vividly when I gave my first interview, I was actually talking about my failures. I was actually talking about how I overcame those failures. I told him that I couldn't speak a word of English up until I was in 12th grade. When I came to Australia, my understanding of English was extremely limited, so I really had to teach myself how to communicate, right, in the language that you guys can sort of understand, right? And after that, right, I also had to sort of work on my accent, because nobody wants to speak with someone who has a very thick Indian accent. So I started working on my accent as well. I started looking at the other shows in English, right? So and then I would also tell him that because my grades on a piece of paper weren't looking really great. I wasn't the sharpest tool in the box, right? I had average grades in school, in college, and even in the university. So I really had to accept the fact I cannot be in the denial that now I have a really great grades. I was a really sharp kid, but something really happened in the school and the college that prevented me to be a university topper, right? So I had to accept my flaws. I accepted the flaw, and I told him that my grades might not be really good, right? I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, right? But I'm the type of person, if you ask me a question and if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you in your face that I don't know the answer, but I know how to find the answer, okay? And as you can look at in my resume, that I do not have a really good grades in the school and colleges, okay? I was an average student throughout, but I was also the hardest working person in my circle. So if you give me this shot, right, I am gonna be I'm gonna be the hardest working person you know, okay? I'm gonna be the first one to show up, and I'm gonna be the last one to leave the building. Don't look at it as something that is going to make your life or that is going to destroy your life. At the end of the day, it is a numbers game, right? Every time you're getting a rejection from for a certain job, you're actually getting closer to the one right job, right? It's also all about the perspective, right? So do not get sort of disheartened. All you're trying to do is trying to have a communication with the person sitting across the table. You're trying to build a relationship. You're trying to build a rapport. Now, when I speak about rapport, I don't mean that you're talking, if you're asking questions about the cats and dogs and this personal interest. I'm talking about you build a rapport by telling your story. You are painting a vision, right? So that person is not tuning out. If you're just going to read out your resume, he can see what's in the resume. He's looking more than that. So you are telling him, painting him a picture who you are as a human being. Okay? If something happens to you in your life, okay, how are you going to respond to it? Right? What are your work ethics like? Okay, so don't make it a bigger deal than it is. It is just a job interview, right? If you get rejected by this one, you're always gonna get another shot.
So the second question is a little bit deeper than the usual. Do you believe in God and the numerous practices that come with following different religious beliefs?
Okay, so obviously I grew up as a Hindu, so I believed in God, right? But as I sort of grew, my sort of definition of God have shifted. Okay, I have a different perspective and different take on God. Now, as I'm sort of 34, I do not believe in 50 million god and goddesses that we have in the Indian culture, but I do believe that there is one higher power. I don't know if it is Mahavir, I don't know if it is Krishna, I don't know if it is Allah or Jesus Christ, but I do believe, if you just sort of look at the universe, okay, if you just sort of pay a little bit more attention, then you'll realize that this thing cannot just come out of a big bang. And again, I could be completely wrong, I could be completely off the chart. This is just my personal belief, but now I do believe in there's one person who's looking after all of us, right? I definitely do not believe that God is someone we need to fear from. Okay, when I was a kid, every time I basically wanted something, I would just pray profusely. Forget about the praying. I would just sit in front of a call for about 2 hours, 3 hours, and I'm constantly sort of chanting. And now it's basically more than sort of chanting. I'm begging for God to sort of give me something, right? But I don't think God really works that way. You need to understand that the God is God because He doesn't have any ego, right? He doesn't care that if you're going to sit in front of Him for about literally 24 hours and you do that for 7 times a week, right? God doesn't need that kind of chanting. He doesn't have any ego, right? The God doesn't need you to sort of protect Him as well. Right? There are so many people out there, right? They're killing people because of their religious beliefs, right? Because they're trying to protect their God. Understand this: God is God, and He doesn't need you to protect Him. He can do all the protection Himself. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of difficult time communicating my message because now I really believe in it, but in this philosophy, but I haven't sort of just sat down and thought about this question. This is the first time I'm actually thinking about, I'm trying to sort of put God in this way, right? So let's say there are two kind of people. There are two people. One person is extremely religious, okay, prays to God literally for about 6 to 7 hours a day, and every time he does something, he's going to sit in front of the God and he is praying, constantly praying. But he's also the kind of a person who doesn't believe in working extremely hard. He's a lazy guy. He doesn't believe in lifting people up. He's got a massive ego, so he's constantly, consciously or subconsciously putting people down. And then we got another human being who doesn't believe in God at all. He doesn't go to the church, he doesn't go to the mosque, he doesn't go to any temple, but that guy really believes in his dream, right? This is what I believe in about the God. The God, if there is a God, if there is one entity who's looking over everyone, He is trying to accomplish His goal, His dreams through us, right? There is a reason that you can sing, but your mom, your dad cannot sing. There's a reason that God has planted that seed in your heart, not in the heart of your sister, right? So the God wants us to win. So the universe is God for me. Every time I'm actually talking about the universe, I'm actually referring to that one person who is looking over everyone's shoulder. So He is trying to accomplish His goals, His dreams, His aspiration through us, right? So we have this another person who doesn't believe in the temple. He doesn't believe in the God. He doesn't believe in going to the church every Sunday, or doesn't believe in going to the mosque every Friday. But that person is extremely compassionate. That person works really hard on his job, right? Every time he thinks that he really wants to do something, he moves out of his comfort zone, and in spite of all his fears, he takes actions. He does a lot of charitable work. That person helps other people out without any ulterior motive. Both people die. Person A and person B, they goes to the heaven. The person who is guarding the gate of the heaven get to decide who basically get to go to the heaven. So the first person who's extremely religious but at the same time extremely lazy, he hadn't accomplished any of the dreams that the God put it in his heart. So that person basically argues, God, I should be the one who gets an entry into the heaven because I chanted your name all the time. Anyone who argued against the God, I protected you, right? But then the next question in my head from the person who's guarding the gate will be, have you accomplished any of your goals? Have you overcome any of your fears? Were you a decent human being? Okay, did you do any charitable work? Did you lift people up? Did you lift underprivileged people up? The answer is going to be no. But this person, obviously the second person is going to get the entry in the heaven if there is a concept of heaven, right? So this person is going to have a conversation with that person, and it's probably going to go like this. No, I didn't believe in your name. Okay, I did not even believe that you were existed, but I helped people out. I accomplished all the dreams that you planted in my heart. I stepped out of my comfort zone and achieved my goals and aspiration. I looked after my family. I looked after other families in the world as well. I left the world better than I found. Obviously, that person gets the space in the heaven. right? So a lot of people make it look like the God is someone you need to fear from. Every time I pray, right? So when I was in school and the colleges, when I did not understand a lot of things around God, spirituality, and stuff like that, I would chant, but I wouldn't even understand. I wouldn't even know the meaning of those mantras, right? But then when I sort of read more books around the religion, instead of doing the mantras, I would just have a conversation with the God. Every time I'm about to step into a really important meeting, instead of just doing the mantra without any purpose, I would just have a conversation with that person, right? I would just ask for more strength. I would just ask for more fear. And if I'm pissed, I talk to that person, right? If I'm pissed, if I'm not happy if I don't understand a certain aspect of my life, sometimes I get really angry with that dude, right? And I just have an angry conversation. You are not offending God, because He understands the meaning underneath of that conversation. Okay, so I don't know if it is an easy answer to your question, but this is my understanding around God, and this is what I really believe in, that we are not human beings that are having spiritual experience. I honestly, deep into my soul, believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's my answer.
Thank you. So the third question is, do you think deciding your whole life for one goal stops you to explore the other goals coming your way?
Okay, so here's the thing about goals that people don't understand. Okay, like goal needs to evolve with time, right? Let's just talk about money as one of your goals, right? So money is only 1% of the things that you're trying to achieve in your lifetime, right? There are other 99% of the things that you need to experience before you leave this earth, before you die, right? The problem with far too many people, because they are living in a denial, telling themselves bullshit stories that money is not important, money is not going to make you happy. Because of this limiting beliefs, what really happens is all their life they're chasing money, right? They are making all the decisions in their life because of the money, right? They're 65 and they're still sorting that thing out, right? So when I graduated from the university, obviously every decision from that point I made because of the money, because I had a massive education loan, right? So I had to sort of pay that off. So I didn't care about my passion. I was actually lucky enough to stumble upon the passion, and I made a lot of money out of it. But for the first sort of 7 to 8 years of my career, every decision I made was predicated on how much money I was going to make out of that, right? But the thing that really excited me at the age of sort of 20 did not excite me when I was 27, did not excite me when I was 30, and really doesn't excite me right now, right? So your goal, things that you want from your life, is graduating, right? So what happens is, if all your life you're going after one thing, you are not graduating yourself. When you upgrade your goal, right? When your goal evolves, what really happens, you transform yourself into a different person, into a person that can actually achieve that goal. So if money is your goal, okay, don't live your life in a denial that money is not important. I'm telling you guys, money is extremely important. When someone in your family is sick, and the only way to save that person is to give them the best medical advice, and if you haven't got the money, you're not going to feel really great about yourself, right? Once you have money, you can stop worrying about the money, and you can spend all your time looking after that person. So get the money problem out of the way. Set different goals. If what really motivated you at the age of 21, it still motivates you at the age of 40, there's something wrong in your goal setting. Okay? So there's so many things you can experience once you get that out of the way, and your goal needs to evolve with time.
So the last question for today is, what are the 3 habits that a person needs to instill in his daily routine?
So this is really, really simple. Now, For me is it starts with waking up early, and I'm not talking about getting up at 7 o'clock. I'm not getting up at 6 o'clock. I'm talking about waking up at 4 in the morning. Now, the preparation of waking up 4 in the morning begins the night before. If you're gonna sleep around sort of 11 o'clock or after midnight, there is no way in the world you're gonna get up consistently at 4 o'clock every single day, right? You do not be sleep deprived and waking up 4 in the morning. You're not gonna get anything done while you're up anyway. Okay, you need to have about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So obviously for me, number one is waking up 4 in the morning. Number two is get into some physical exercise. It is so important that we immediately sort of put ourselves into some kind of a physical exercise, because for me, it gives me some kind of confidence. I feel control in my body. And again, every time you exercise, your brain sort of produces a chemical called dopamine and endorphin, and that is again the good feel hormone. Right? And number three is, without a doubt for me, is start reading books. Okay? Because I believe that there is no one problem that you are going through right now in your life is unique to you. There are so many people who've gone through the similar problems. They had it worse than that you are having right now, and they've written a book about it. Right? So when I'm reading a book, I'm actually not looking at, I'm not starting a book to finish it. I'm actually looking for the $1 million golden nuggets between those pages. And reading had been such an important part of my life ever since I was in college, right? Because when I was in college, I was actually going through a lot of internal struggle, right? And I did not have any mentor when I was in college, even when I was in university, when I was in Australia, right? And I did not want to sort of trouble my parents with my problems. And again, they did not take my path when they were sort of growing up, so they wouldn't have any understanding about the struggles that I am going through, right? So I leaned towards books, and I started looking for the answers in the books, and I actually got the answers. And sometimes this is really amazing. Sometimes I would be sort of going through some specific problem, right? I would just pick up the book and start reading from a random page in the middle, and it is just a coincidence or I don't know what, but the solution of that exact problem that I'm going through, I would find the answer in those pages, right? So again, waking up 4 in the morning, get into some kind of physical exercise, and start reading books immediately. And that's the wrap, guys. And this is Q&A with Mishal, episode number 5. Now, guys, these are your questions and I'm answering them. Now, if you want me to answer any of your questions in relation to business, sales, marketing, leadership, how to get the best out of yourself, how to get the best out of your people, please do not forget to leave your questions in the comment section, right? And I'm going to try my best to answer those questions in the next episode. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching Q&A with Mishal. I'll see you next time.